Durant blows by Primo. Attack.
Jokic in the power. Here it goes. Got it. Denver has won.
But that's my stubborn side. Like, it's easy to go somewhere and go win a championship with somebody else. It's easy. But this is the hard way to do it, and we did it.
We welcome you in to the Small Ball Podcast alongside the wonderful Christian Dennis and the very lovely Trevor Mickulin, who's back in the studio. I'm Scott Ayers. And we also have our great producer, Andy, behind the scenes. Andy, say hello.
He matches the flag today.
Yeah, I decided to match the flag today.
Well, spoken well, as always, is our great producer, Andy, wearing a nice purple Nike shirt. He came in today, and the first thing we all noticed is how good he looked. And that's kind of why he's behind the scenes. Being the best looking of the four of us, we said, we don't want you on camera. We need people to guard their hearts while listening to a basketball podcast.
So good.
And what we have been doing the last couple of weeks, actually the last couple of months, is a bit of a tour around the U.S., talking different small to mid-market teams, what they looked like last season, their offseason, and expectations going into the future. And this episode is very special for our producer, Andy, because we are talking Cleveland Cavaliers, who, Andy, that's your team. You are ride or die. And now we get to talk about the Cavs. How do you feel about that, Andy?
Dude, I'm so excited for this season. Like, I was already pretty high on this season, but after the past couple of weeks, it's been amazing.
It's a really, really sweet time if you're a Cleveland Cavaliers fan. Quickly, let's recap kind of last season, because the Cavs made an awesome jump from year one to year two under JB Bickerstaff, making it into the bubble, or the play-in, I should say, not the bubble, the play-in. They fall short to the Hawks, but overall, a really successful season for the Cavs.
Yeah, I think the expectations going into this last seasons for the Cavs was not very high. I think they were projected to win like 20-something games.
Well, even in a GM survey before the season, it was like, what team has the brightest future? They ranked dead last. GMs rated them dead last before last season.
Yeah, and it's just like what they were able to accomplish this year is just insane. To see Evan Mobley come in and be super productive right from the get-go, the jump that Darius Garland did, and just seeing that team all kind of come together with their massive lineup, having like 3 7-footers in the starting five. It was honestly really awesome to watch the Cavs this year.
Yeah, super good defensively. They were one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, and awesome to see Kevin Love before, you remember last season when he had that on the court drama in the middle of the game where he like kind of gave up on the team. He took the role off the bench as 6-man and did a really, really good job. Had some awesome stints through the year. So yeah, great year for Cleveland, and how exciting for that team after being bad for a couple years post LeBron era, for them to have some serious hope into the future. Great season for Cleveland. Yeah. Super exciting.
And even Jarrett Allen, what a great acquisition at that center position. And I mean, defensively speaking, he is fantastic. He really is a surefire bet to just be great on the defensive end and also on offensive production. He was great. But yeah, you talked about the last couple of seasons, kind of like when LeBron leaves, oh gosh, what is life going to look like without him? And it was a couple of seasons with 19 wins, 22 wins in the 2020-2021 season, and then a massive jump, winning 44 games last season.
Crazy.
And now the ceiling is, who knows what the ceiling is now for Cleveland, because let's just get into the offseason. There are a lot of moves made, but most importantly, Donovan Mitchell is a Cleveland Cavalier.
I did not think that Donovan Mitchell was going to be traded this offseason. I just heard all the rumors. We've seen rumors with big name players before. Once Rudy got traded, I thought, all right, it's going to happen if Donovan Mitchell like outright requests a trade. And I just didn't see it happening. And yeah, caught me by surprise big time.
Yeah, I didn't think that they were serious when the rumors came out that they're looking to trade him before training camp. If anything, I was kind of expecting them to really drag out the process even more, because that's just kind of how the NBA works. You know, it's like, oh, the rumors, someone wants to be traded, but it doesn't always happen as quickly as we would like it to happen. So the fact that it did happen, and the fact that it did go to the Cavs, that the Cavs won the prize of Donovan Mitchell, I mean, to me, it's not surprising since I mentioned it a couple weeks ago. But like,
Andy, make a quick cut to that after this of Christian making that, and then time lap it back to Christian talking about. Continue, Christian.
Yeah, and so that was, you know, an idea that was just kind of outlandish in a sense. I was like, you know what? Yeah, the Cavs, they kind of want a guard that can score the ball. Why not Donovan Mitchell? So it's kind of cool to see it actually come to fruition. I am kind of bummed in the fact that Lauri Markkanen did get moved on, because I felt like his shooting is something that was, or his shooting is something that is very valuable to the Cavaliers, because that's my biggest concern with them right now is like their floor spacing. You know, you have Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, who aren't good three-point shooters. Darius Garland's not that great of a three-point shooter. Isaac Okoro is not very good. And those are four guys that are in your starting lineup right now.
Yeah, there's serious concerns, which we'll touch on when we, you know, forecast next season and what we think they can do. There are concerns with floor spacing, but Cleveland, I don't think right now they're looking at the roster and this is the finished product this is the team that's going to contend. I think that this year may be a adjustment year, but they acquired a serious star, and that was their goal. A young guy too, who's under contract. This move was really solid.
It's an awesome move, and now Cleveland has one of the best backcourts in the East, and maybe one of the best backcourts in the NBA. And when you hear that as an NBA fan, or as a Cleveland Cavalier fan, that has to excite you. Because when you have one of the best backcourts in the NBA, historically speaking, you're going to be a pretty darn good contender.
Yeah.
And what a great move, because, you know, we've known the Cavs as this is LeBron's team. And that kind of has been an identity. How do you shake that? And they already started to shake it last year.
Yep.
This now, you can shake that identity, because they will have a great identity away from LeBron James.
Yeah, that's a good point. I also am curious if any of you guys think that Cleveland gave up too much for this trade. You mentioned Lauri. Maybe you wouldn't have given him up.
Yeah, I mean,
3 unprotected first-round picks, I'm pretty sure, in a pick swap, I think is what was included with Sexton, Lauri, in those picks. I believe that's what it is. Can you fact check me on that?
Yep, it's 3 first rounders, 2 pick swaps, Lauri Markkanen, the new rookie, and Colin Sexton.
Okay, so
thank you, producer Andy.
yeah, and the new rookies, Abaji.
It's Abaji.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. It's hard to say. It all depends, on my opinion, on how Colin Sexton develops. I know he's coming from an ACL tear, but he kind of just didn't fit the mold of the Cavs. There was a lot of clashing that went on with Colin Sexton, so I can understand moving on from him. But when you kind of look at the stats of Sexton and Mitchell kind of side by side, they are similar. Not saying that Sexton is of the winning quality player that Donovan Mitchell is. I'm just saying, like, he's young, so it's like that's not something that Sexton could potentially turn into. You know, it's like,
sure, with Colin Sexton, it's like a maybe. Oh, that'd be really cool if he can get that. They got a guy who is that and has done it in the playoffs. The series against Denver, like him and Jamal Murray going back
just
and
trading
forth.
50-point games with
Crazy,
each other.
dude. Yeah. And he's done it for years. It's not like Colin Sexton, who averaged 24 for one season and is like a kind of a locker room knucklehead. Not saying that's what he is, but that's kind of the stigma that comes with the name Colin Sexton. I think you get a surefire guy. I like the move. All-stars, you know, there's guys that come available frequently in the NBA that are of star value, but you don't find a guy like Donovan Mitchell who is that star, but also under contract and young in his lower 20s. You don't find that. So this is the move that giving up all those picks, they gave up a lot, but in my opinion, to get a guy for those reasons, it's so worth it.
And in the NBA, you have to make moves to win championships. Very rarely do you come upon like a Golden State where you're able to just draft all these pieces and can win that way. For the most part, you have to make risky and tough decisions in order to succeed. And that's what Cleveland did right here by acquiring Donovan Mitchell. We know some of the stigmas with his defense, whatever, but he is a world-class scorer, and I think that is going to boost anything you'd get from, what they trade away. Losing Lauri Markkanen, I think, actually is more of a bigger loss than Colin Sexton, just like you mentioned, for the floor spacing, the fit he had with the team. But I'm still making this trade 10 times out of 10 if I'm Cleveland. I'm taking Donovan Mitchell. I'm taking the risk because it gives us a better chance to win a championship versus if you hold on to Sexton, Markkanen, and just kind of play your cards from there.
Yeah, and I see what you guys are saying, and I feel like it's hard to say how to rate this pick, or excuse me, this trade, just solely off of this year. I don't think they're going to do anything. It's really the years after to where they're going to retool and figure out how to make this team better, and then from there, they're going to be contenders. But this year, they'll be good. They'll be better, but it's just like, it's the next step. Like what's the next players that they're going to acquire to make this team to the next level? Because like I said, I'm really concerned about their shooting.
And that's a valid concern. They need to figure out floor spacing.
Yeah. And Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell are both smaller guards. But again, you have Evan Mobley and Jared Allen who can back you up. So it's like, does the fact that they're both like 6'1", does that even matter?
I mean, Mike Conley played side by side with Mitchell, and they finished first in the West. And granted, they struggled in the playoffs, right? But first in the West is first in the West. So, that's kind of the one thought I get when you think of maybe smaller guards. And Conley's awesome. I love Mike Conley.
Yeah, no, definitely. They're going to be electric. They're going to be so much fun to watch. And I'm super excited to see the Cavs play. I'm trying to go in with a little bit of hesitancy because I don't know exactly how the fit is going to be with the Cavs quite yet.
Yeah. Andy, you got something for us.
Yeah, okay. I have two things. One, I love the Donovan Mitchell trade, but I think they kind of gave up a lot. I really wish that they wouldn't have gave up the rookie this year. But, I mean, I see how, you got to get the trade done, and that's, one of the final pieces that's got to go with it, then so be it. But I think it's going to be really fun, though. I think the one thing Donovan Mitchell's – now, I'm not sure of the entire what the culture's like in Utah and everything and what it's like over there, but Cleveland, it's a basketball city, low key. Yeah. And the culture around the Cavs is really great, and the team gets along really well together. And they go in it together and they come out of it together, and it's a very team focused team. So I think he's gonna enjoy that, and I think he's gonna really find himself a great spot here.
Yeah.
I heard rumors that when the trade went down and he heard that the Cleveland core was still there and he was stepping into that, he was golfing, and he said he was jumping around and screaming at the golf course out of joy. That's what I heard.
Yeah, because it's exactly what you want. It's a perfect situation to fall into. You have Darius Garland, who can really move the ball. You have Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, two really big guys that are going to be pretty good for the next few years. So it's the best of both worlds there. You're walking into a great defensive situation where if that's your one weakest point, the rest of the team can really pick that up for you, and we can watch Donovan really flow into the star that he's meant to be.
And let's talk about Darius Garland. He re-signed too with Cleveland. He had a breakout season this last year. And you have to think that this feels like another potential stepping stone just for him to improve his game. Now he gets an amazing, probably Donovan Mitchell will play the 2, Garland at the 1.
Yes.
I'm really excited to see what Garland can do this upcoming season because he's already an all-star. Now can he double down? Can he have another all-star appearance? What does this next season look like for Garland? Feels like sky's the limit for him.
I'm glad you brought that up. Darius Garland had a career year, 22 points per game and just under 9 assists. he had a breakout season and he made the All-Star team, and he was really the lead player that was putting them in that position to, be at one point 6th seed, 5th seed in the East. So super exciting. I do think with Donovan coming in, takes the ball out of his hands a little bit. So I don't know if offensively he's going to put the same numbers. It'll be an interesting year for Darius Garland fitting alongside Donovan Mitchell. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to think. I see where you're coming from, but I could also see the fact that him not having the ball as much could improve his stats a little bit in terms of now he has Donovan Mitchell that he's passing the ball to, as opposed to, Isaac Okoro or oh my God,
Kevin Love, Evan Mobley,
Lauri Markkanen. Sorry, we were just talking about Lauri. You have an elite guard who can score, and so now he's coming off pick and rolls with Jared Allen or Evan Mobley. Do defenses sag off of Donovan Mitchell to try to help with Darius? Do they stay tighter with Donovan Mitchell and gives Darius more room to either pass to a rolling big or shoot, or it's a different dynamic for sure.
Yeah. It makes sense because Darius Garland is such a good facilitator. He averaged, like I said, just under 9 assists per game. So that's his forte. Like, that's what he's thinking about. He's not a shoot first guy. So playing alongside a shoot first player like Donovan Mitchell is really good. I don't know if he's going to build off of last season numbers wise. I don't know if his numbers will go crazy playing alongside Donovan, because Donovan Mitchell, he's going to require the ball. In Utah, it was, Mike Conley towards, the latter end of his career. And Donovan had the ball predominantly just doing pick and rolls, throwing up lobs to Rudy Gobert. So it'll be interesting. Andy.
Yeah, no, I think you're kind of right. We're not going to see a drastic change in the numbers, but what we are going to see is something a lot more efficient. Like last year, he was very, very close to shooting 50, 40, 90. Like he was just off by just one or two numbers. So like I think what we're going to see a lot more is just those efficient numbers just keep going up, right? He's going to get better at shooting. His shot selection is going to be much better. He's going to get better at passing. And it's just going to be gradually getting better and more efficient between each and every player,
That's a good point. That's something that for Darius Garland going into next season, last year he shot 46% from the field. So that can improve from 3-point, 38%, and from free throw, 89%. So he's close to the 50, 40, 90 club, which very few players, get that. And for Darius, that should be a goal going into next season.
Yeah, it's a star-studded backcourt, and you guys have mentioned the retooling, so let's just look at this upcoming season for Cleveland, because the East is jam-packed, and it's kind of hard to navigate once you get past Philly, Milwaukee, and Philly is maybe the top two teams where everyone else might lie. In Cleveland, it can be in that mix. They really, I think, are going to make a jump from, they finished 9th last year in the East. I can really see them in that range of 3 through 7, maybe 8th at the worst. But I really think Cleveland is going to be a team that don't be surprised if you see them over 50 wins this upcoming season.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, when you look at the Cavs roster, like we've been talking about the starting 5 basically this whole time, but we are forgetting Ricky Rubio's coming off the bench, Karis LeVert, Kevin Love. Like these are solid NBA players. And the fact that these are your second unit is going to be really great for when, you're kind of subbing in and out and keeping the flow going throughout the game.
I think that'll be a difference maker as well, is having a actual quality second unit, because oftentimes we see these great starting units and then you see guys, quite frankly, are like us going out there to play 15 minutes of basketball. So that makes a huge difference and a pivotal difference, especially in a regular season race for the best record.
Seti Deadly Osman too. Don't forget the name. I just came up with that.
That was
Andy,
really good.
What about you, Andy? What do you think?
I think this defense is going to be amazing, and that's going to be like one of the key things. Like you said, Christian, it's going to be a 1-2 punch, right? The first team that you face is going to be really good defensively, and then the second team just right on the back, right?
You think Donovan Mitchell is going to be really good defensively?
I think we can see where he can grow. You know, it's new coaching. It's new coaching staff and everything, new opportunities, and I think
new culture.
Spoken like a true fan.
He's gonna work on his game. He's a basketball player, right? And so every basketball player loves who they are and they love their game, and that's something that they know that they need to work on. So we'll see.
So are you claiming that Donovan Mitchell is a basketball player and not a hooper?
No, I think I think the way he plays. There is a difference.
You guys don't know the difference?
Yeah.
Tell us, define it.
A hooper is a guy who could just go out there, no matter what, he's going to score, get you buckets.
Get you a bucket.
Who's an example of a
Regardless.
hooper?
Donovan Mitchell is a hooper. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Donovan
Smith?
Mitchell is a hooper, like a Jamal Crawford. He's the kind of guy he's going to get you buckets regardless.
Yeah.
Whereas a basketball player is like Harrison Barnes, fits a role, really good in his role, and he knows what he can do.
And like the big argument is like, is Giannis a hooper or a basketball player? Like, and some people we'll save that for the Bucks convo, but some people believe that he's one or the other, and that it doesn't even exist. So
Is Kevin Durant a hooper or a basketball player?
give the ball to Kevin Durant. What is he gonna do?
Is Nikola Jokic a hooper or a basketball
I know
player?
he's a hooper,
He's a
but he's
hooper.
also there's some guys that have to be both. Like the GOATs are the both of them, right? Because they fit their role as the star. I don't know. I'm just like I don't want to see Donovan Mitchell become a role player.
And that's the thing. Like, it's a really complex
he's not-
definition.
a basketball player isn't defined as a role player. I just said Harrison Barnes because that was the first person that came to mind.
Yeah, and then Andy goes like, "Of course, Kevin Durant's a hooper." So I'm just
He
trying
is
to.
a hooper.
Yeah.
All right. This
Yeah, it's muddy water for sure. It's definitely muddy water, but like
So
if you're
confusing.
talking about the GOATs, then yeah, I would say like LeBron would be a definition of basketball and a hooper because he can
Got it.
do both. But very few are both.
What is Christian Dennis?
You know what?
say it.
I'm a basketball player. I'm not a hooper. I know my role. I'm gonna stand in the corner, shoot some threes, and you know what? I'll pass the rock. I'll move the ball.
Christian at the high post looks. He looks awfully like
Nikola Jokic.
Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
Really?
He's throwing behind the back passes, everything.
Yeah, pass and
looks.
cut. Pass and cut.
When Christian has the ball, I know my role.
Yeah.
Cut to the basket.
Okay, Trevor. So now you've got like the cut and the dirty definition
Yeah.
of basketball player and hooper. What are you?
I'm a hooper.
Okay, we're gonna need to see some footage.
Can anyone vouch for me?
Well, the hooper, you can only guarantee it by the eye test.
Okay. We'll
That's
play.
all eye test.
We'll play soon.
Yeah.
We'll play soon. We'll make
You
it
get-
happen.
You get stats from.
If I'm playing sixth graders at the YMCA, I am a hooper. Any other age group, I am a basketball player.
Yeah, no. For sure. What were we talking about?
We're talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's get back on track here, guys.
Yeah.
The Cleveland Cavaliers, their upcoming season. Donovan Mitchell was brought up if whether he was a hooper or a basketball player. We've brought up some other things about the Cavs. What do we expect Cleveland to do this upcoming season? Where do we see them land in the East? That's how we get back on track.
All right. Where do you see them landing?
I see them in the 4 or 5th seed. Might be a huge jump, but when I'm looking at the Eastern Conference, I see the Bucks, Celtics, Sixers is probably like your top 3. And then from there, it's kind of like an open field. You know, Miami, the Raptors, the Cavs, those teams
There's
are
a lot
like
of teams in the East.
the Hawks, another
Sixers.
team. There's just like
Chicago.
They're teams that it's like they're good, but they're not like a top 3 team. And so that's
Sure.
kind of why I have them in 4 or 5.
They're definitely in that area, the 4, 5, those teams that you mentioned, they're not top 3. I don't think this next season. I do think they're going to struggle early on just because the dynamic between last year, they were a team that was team basketball, like they're passing a lot. They're doing their thing. Darius Garland's their leading scorer. And this season, dynamic is going to change. They're going to have to adjust. Donovan Mitchell's coming in. I think that'll take a toll on the record a little bit. They're still going to be a good team. I think that they're above 500, probably 7 to 8 seed. That would be where I would slot them at. But great season. This is something to build off of.
I mentioned at the beginning, Biggerstaff is starting to really build a culture with this Cleveland team. And we noticed it a lot last year. Andy, you touched on it. It's a basketball city. Fans love basketball. And you start to feel like just the culture in Cleveland right now is very positive. And I think that's great for Mitchell. So I feel like the transition, maybe the first couple games, it might be a little bit different. But I really do think if he buys in, this team can... I don't want to say a 3 seed. I'll slot them at the 4th in the East. When I first saw the trade, I even talked to Andy.
Whoa.
I talked to Andy.
High.
I was like, Andy, this team's going to compete. And I still believe it. I really do think Cleveland is going to surprise people in the postseason. And I would not be shocked if they have a similar run to what we saw with Atlanta a couple of years ago.
Whoa, Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying, Eastern Conference Finals?
Yeah, you know what? I'll stick with that. I'll roll with that.
Whoa.
No, I agree. That's my expectation is the Eastern Conference Finals. Like it's my expectation. I hope they make 4th in the East. I know it's gonna be kind of tough. You have Brooklyn, Celtics, Bucks, 76ers. Like it's deep, but I mean, so are the Cavs. So
the Cavs are deep. I love their bench, and I am gonna ride with the Cavs. And there's my hot take. I'm gonna pick the Cavs.
I don't think it's a hot take at all.
I love it.
I mean, I kind of see that. I mean, when you look at those other teams that are in that area, the Raptors, the Heat, the Hawks, those teams, they're very similar in the sense of like they have a nice starting 5, and then it's like their bench is like okay, and it's like they're all good teams, and that's why I feel like they're all very even. So it's like, even if they're the 4th seed, they could be like a couple games above the 7th seed. Like that's just how the East is kind of built. It's just everyone's kind of stacked on each other, sort of thing. The only thing that keeps them out of kind of that 4 or 5 range to me is like also how well the Nets are. Right. You know, if the Nets pull it together and they're clearly a top 4 team, that's where I'm like, okay, yeah, definitely 5 or 6 range. So that's why I kind of agree with you there.
4 or 5. Yeah, Andy.
Yeah, I think like, you know, they were right around there last year and they were getting there. And
they were.
One thing that just like held them back, and I really hoping that it's not the same thing this year, is injuries, because that like really shot the record down towards the end of the year. And that's what booted us into the playoff or the play-in, because we were like just slotted straight for the playoffs, and then we just started losing like 20 games. And
I'm sitting with a bunch of people who believe the Cleveland Cavaliers are once again contenders.
It's Cleveland.
I didn't say they're contenders. I just said they're a top 5 team in the East.
Contenders.
I'm in the
saying
city.
people.
I'm in the city of Believeland.
All right.
Yes.
I love it. I love the hot takes. That's good.
we're in the hunt.
Yeah. I'm in Believeland right now, and I'm rocking with the Cavs. Absolutely. Well, fellas, looks like we're at that point of the show where, it's getting kind of late, and I think it's time to call it wraps. So, for the wonderful producer Andy, this is your team, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Before I sign us off, do you have anything else to say? We want to give you just even a minute to just talk about your Cavs.
Okay, I'm going to look into the camera for this one.
Yeah, look into the camera. Go ahead,
Okay.
Andy.
I will say the Cavs experienced some of the lowest of the lows, but we also experienced some of the highest of the highs, winning the best finals championship that the NBA has ever seen, coming back 3-1 with LeBron James and Kyrie Irving both getting 40 points. Okay, they're not on the team anymore, but whatever. You know, we experienced a lot, and we experienced something really, really bad a couple years ago. Darius Garland had the worst rookie year ever, and then our record was pretty bad for a couple years, but hey, Cleveland's back.
That's good. That's powerful stuff right there.
That moved.
I will run through a brick wall for you, Andy.
That was really nice, Andy. And so, from our great producer, Andy, the always wonderful Trevor Mickelin, who came back from Sacktown, USA, and the great Christian Dennis, I'm Scott Ayers. We say so long for now, and we will see you next show.
Spider-Man. Cut it after the second one. I forgot the song. Oh, you're still here. Well, while you're here, why don't you give us a like, subscribe, and and follow us on Instagram at Small Ball Podcasts.